You're checking your bank account on a Tuesday morning, coffee getting cold, and the number on the screen makes no sense. It does not match the work you put in. It does not match the title on your LinkedIn. It does not match what you were promised. You did everything they told you to. The degree, the career, the promotions, and you're about to find out none of it was enough. Forget the salary for a second. The real lie is that earning more means worrying less. Whether you make 80,000, 150, or 200, the math catches almost everyone. But to really show you how deep this goes, let's use $200,000 a year as the example. Not because that is what everyone earns, but because if the math does not work at 200,000, it should terrify you about what it looks like everywhere else. So here is the reality nobody wants to talk about. $200,000 a year puts you somewhere around the top 12% of earners in the United States. The median household income sits around $83,000. At 200 grand, you are way above most of the country. That sounds massive. That sounds like freedom. And for a lot of people making that kind of money, it feels like they should never have to worry. The problem is that earning a lot and keeping a lot are two completely different things. This is where most people get it wrong, and the system is designed to make sure you keep getting it wrong. Let me walk you through the math. You start with 200 grand. Federal income tax takes roughly 30 to 40,000 depending on your filing status and deductions. State income tax, which averages around 4 to 6% nationally and can go way higher in places like California at over 13%, or New York pulls another 8 to 12,000. Payroll taxes for Social Security and Medicare cost you about $15,300 flat. Then health insurance premiums eat up another $5,000 to $10,000 per year. Add it all up, and that $200,000 salary is now somewhere around $130,000 in actual take-home pay. That is about $10,800 hitting your account every month. Run that math again. You lost $70,000 before you bought a single thing. Almost a third of your income is already gone. Now, here is where the countdown really starts. Let's talk about where that $10,800 goes every 30 days. Month 1, the mortgage. If you bought a $750,000 home, which is pretty standard for a high-earning family in a decent neighborhood, you are looking at a $600,000 loan after putting 20% down. At 7% interest on a 30-year term, your principal and interest payment alone runs about $3,990 a month. Property taxes at the national average of 1.1% add another $150. Maintenance runs roughly $625 a month when you average it out over the year. Your total housing cost lands right around $5,450 every single month. That is more than half of your take-home pay, gone, just to keep a roof over your head. And that is before your kids eat breakfast. Month 2, you still have that mortgage, and now the rest of your life costs kick in. Private school for 2 kids runs about $26,000 to $35,000 per child per year, depending on grade level. Let's use the average and call it $5,000 a month for 2 children combined. If you have a younger kid in daycare or preschool, tack on another $1,000 a month because childcare costs have climbed over 40% in a decade. 2 car payments for a 2-income household. That is about $1,000 total. Groceries, subscriptions, streaming services, gym memberships, the occasional dinner out, and maybe one family vacation a year. You are looking at another $2,000 a month easily. Healthcare copays and out-of-pocket costs on top of your premiums add another $1,000. Your total monthly expenses just hit $15,450. Your take-home is $10,800. You are already underwater by $4,650 every single month. Think about that for a second. You make 200 grand a year and you are still bleeding money. If you're still watching and are enjoying this video, I'd appreciate it if you could hit subscribe. Month 3. Without any income at all, most Americans at this level have emergency savings that cover maybe 60 to 90 days if they start cutting fast. About 46% of Americans have at least 3 months of expenses saved up. That means more than half do not. And that 46% number includes everyone, even people who earn far less and spend far less. For high earners with inflated lifestyles, the cushion is often thinner because the expenses are so much bigger. Almost half of all Americans cannot cover a $1,000 emergency from their savings alone. For someone burning through $15,000 a month, that emergency fund evaporates before you can even update your resume. Now, here is what most people do when the gap between income and expenses gets this bad. They do not cut, they borrow. The average American household carries about $8,000 in credit card debt, and for high earners, the number is often significantly higher because the credit limits are bigger and the spending habits are harder to downshift. Credit card interest rates in 2025 are averaging over 22%. That means if you are floating even $10,000 on plastic, you are paying over $2,000 a year just in interest. Money that buys you absolutely nothing. Money that quietly drains out your account every month while you are focused on keeping the rest of your life looking intact. And credit cards are just the visible part. There are home equity lines of credit that people tap when the savings run dry. There are 401k loans that people take against their own retirement because it feels like borrowing from yourself instead of borrowing from a bank. Except when you pull $50,000 out of your retirement account at age 42, you are not just losing $50,000. You are losing what the $50,000 would have become over the next 23 years. At an average 7% annual return, that $50,000 would have grown to roughly $240,000 by the time you hit 65. So that one loan, that one moment of plugging a gap, just cost you almost $250,000 in future wealth. And nobody talks about it that way because the damage does not show up for decades. Then there is the debt spiral that follows a job loss. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says the average duration of unemployment in the United States is roughly 22 weeks. That is 5.5 months. If you are burning $15,000 a month and your emergency fund only covers 3 months, you are looking at a $37,000 hole before you even land your next offer. And that assumes you land something at the same salary. In reality, over 40% of workers who lose a job and find new employment take a pay cut. Some studies put the average earnings loss after a layoff at 15 to 20%, and those losses can persist for years. So even when you get back on your feet, the feet are standing on a lower floor. Now layer interest on top of that hole. $37,000 on a credit card at 22% interest, making minimum payments, takes over 4 years to pay off and costs you an additional $20,000 in interest alone. You end up paying $57,000 for the privilege of surviving 5 months without a paycheck. That is the real cost of not having a financial cushion. It is not just the money you spend while unemployed. It is the compounding penalty you pay for years afterward. Every dollar of high-interest debt you take on during a crisis is a dollar that works against you instead of for you. And it does so quietly, month after month, long after the crisis feels like it is over. The system is built to make this easy to ignore. Minimum payments are designed to feel manageable. Credit limit increases show up like rewards. Balance transfer offers arrive right when you need them most. And the whole time, the gap between what you earn and what you owe is getting wider, not narrower. You go back to work, you start earning again, and you think the problem is solved. But the debt followed you. The retirement account is lighter. The compound interest you lost is gone forever. And now you are running the same race with heavier legs. Here is what makes this even worse. Life does not care about your financial plan. Divorce after age 50 has doubled since 1990. When it happens, men typically see their standard of living drop by about 21%. For women, the drop is closer to 45%. Legal fees alone average $15,000 to $20,000, and that is before you split the house, the retirement accounts, and everything else you spent decades building together. Healthcare costs in middle age average $10,000 to $15,000 per year, and they are climbing at over 5% annually in 2025. If you lose spousal coverage after a divorce, those premiums spike even harder. Add mental health costs and lost household economies, and you are looking at 12 to 27% higher healthcare spending compared to married couples. So here's the question that should keep you up at night. You need your paycheck to cover $15,000 in monthly expenses. Your emergency fund, if you even have one, covers maybe 2 or 3 months. What happens at month 4? For most people, the answer is debt, downsizing, or desperation. And the deeper issue is that the system is built to keep you locked in. Every raise you get, you upgrade the house, the car, the school district. Financial advisors call this lifestyle inflation, and it works like a trap that tightens slowly. You earn more, you spend more, and your dependence on that next paycheck grows with every single upgrade. The golden handcuffs get tighter, and you barely notice because everything around you looks like success. Your neighbors are doing the same thing. Your coworkers are doing the same thing. And everyone is pretending the math works.